Well, we're moving on to see what's happening in Bristol. And like Liverpool, they have an elected mayor. So we'll see whether there's any more similarities than that. Alistair Cox.
Okay, so my name's Alistair Cox. I'm the Strategic City Transport Manager at Bristol. Just to pick up on that point, we have an elected mayor, and I think unlike Chris's position, we've had quite a lot of political turmoil in the city for sort of 10, 15 years, with lots of change of administrations. We've had elections every 3 years, then one fallow year, so it's almost a continual election campaign. And since 2.5 years now, we've had an elected mayor, which has made a big change for the city. It's brought a strong vision, it's brought a strong leadership, and it's brought a big pace of change and a lot of decisions, which I think people have welcomed in terms of seeing things happen. I'm going to talk to you tonight a bit about rebalance of the street, which is a very polite officer way of talking about trying to put people first. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing about cycling, because we are Britain's first cycling city, which I'm duty bound to tell everybody when we go anywhere, and we wish to continue to be so and to build on that. But I'm also going to touch on an issue around a key scheme which is under development at the moment near our station, which is very much about trying to create a connection back between a station in the city and trying to deal with a big mess of highway which is currently in the middle. So, in terms of the Mayor's vision, this is just a reference direct from his vision you can see on our website. This is what he says about transport, which I said is the slightly less polite and more blunt way of putting it, about removing the blight of heavy traffic from our cities, improving flows of public transport people need to drive. He's very passionate about transport, but also very passionate about a number of things. A lot of it is around equity in sustainable prosperity. So one of his big drivers in Bristol is about equity. Depending on where you live, your life expectancy is 10 years difference, which isn't acceptable in a city I can ride across in about 45 minutes on my bike. You know, that's crazy. Air quality is a massive issue now, and I think everybody is recognising that nationally, and transport's a very big part of that. And he's very passionate about seeing the right sort of city, a city which is for the people, creates opportunities for the people, and tries to address the equity and prosperity and share it across, and not try and sweep out the suburbs and change the city for new folk to come in. So in terms of transport and cycling itself, he's taken a lot of inspiration from New York. I'm not expecting to read this, but if you go onto the Google and look about what they're doing over in New York, they're doing lots of fantastic stuff. So this is Union Square, I think, from memory, and what they've done here is very quick, easy fixes to the streetscape to make it a very different environment. Taking out parking, taking out a traffic lane, getting planters in there, making it people focused, and you can see the stats for yourself. It's impressive stuff, not just about the transport stuff, but about commercial vacancies, property values, use, and that's the sort of thinking which the Mayor's challenging us as officers to work together and come up with solutions about. Try and make things happen, spend a little bit of money now, look for the permanent solutions over time. So that's some of the stuff which he's pushing out at us to do. In terms of cycling, in response to a request from the Mayor, he's asked us to actually be clear about what we are doing about cycling, because we've been a cycling city and there's lots of press about is it good, is it bad, is Bristol still hopeless? So we've got a cycling strategy now, it sets out where we want to go. Critically, and we're pleased, we've got a Bristol cycling campaign, which is an umbrella for all the cycling groups in the city, and they are working with us and have endorsed the strategy, which is great because it can sometimes be a difficult relationship, and we've got to a place of working together. Sustrans, I'm pleased to say as well, are part of the forwarded organisation as well, and their HQ is a stone's throw from our office, and it feels like we're in a good place. So what are we doing it? So the strategy itself, this is just some infographics, but we are firstly trying to highlight what we've achieved in the city. So we have a very high number of people cycling to work. We've actually upped our investment to around £16 a head for the last 4 or 5 years, and we're making good inroads. But there's still an awful lot of people who don't ride their bike and can't ride their bike. One of the big, I think, game changers from my perspective has been the understanding about what we actually try and provide for people to ride bikes on. So traditionally the transport engineering approach has been a metre and a half cycle lane on a road. And so, okay, a 10-year-old child, you're going to send them off on a main road, metre and a half from an HGV. That isn't just acceptable. So our provision and mentality and approach in this country really has been around people who are willing to ride on the roads, they're willing to dress up in body armour and take on the challenge of trying to survive your commute to work. So I think there's been a game changer, and the Mayor's fully behind this. Is about changing how we design our streets so they're designed for people and for people to use. So we have an 8 to 80 strap line, which is our city should be able to ride around from 8 years old to 80 years old. Clearly, if you're older than 80, we welcome it as well, but it doesn't quite work for the strap line. So we've set ourselves some targets. We're setting ourselves a target of 20% of journeys to the city centre by bike by 2020. About 7.5% of people ride by bike to work in Bristol, so that's quite a scary target to be held to account to what feels like only a few years from now. We also want to do a lot more in terms of training, normalise the cycling, but also to think about laboratory for change there, about halfway down. From January next year, we are the European Green Capital, Bristol. And one of the reasons we won that is the Mayor's saying he wants to see things happen. Let's try things out. Let's close some roads, do things differently, cone off areas, and we just need to try and do some more of that sort of thing. Also in the purpose of a cycling strategy is to keep the funding going. So we've got down the bottom right, you're not expected to see that now, we have a tube network of where we see has been the roads we have to improve. And we're now going for an audit of all those routes to see where are we in terms of what we've delivered and what do we need to deliver and what will it cost. The cycling campaign reckon it's about 150 million to finish the job. So it's £16 a head, that's quite a lot of work still to do. And we want to track the funding. And the other thing we want to do really is move beyond that and look at the broader areas. So we do a lot in terms of social marketing, training, working with businesses, employers, and we recognise it's not just about building the things and hoping people might ride bikes, it's about the broader range of things to do. And we set an action plan, and the action plan is committing what we're doing this year, next year, and then it's driving us with the support of the Mayor to look at how we can secure more money, and we will also monitor how we're doing against the target so we can report and be open. So in terms of what we're building, this is just a visualisation at the moment. This is out on site at the moment, but we're building segregated Dutch-style infrastructure. So this is taking out an entire, probably 900 metres or so of parking to build a key link alongside the river. It forms part of an east-west link we're building right across the city, which will be segregated, off-road, and provide a really good facility. It's got a bus stop floaty island, which are controversial and people have got views on those, but that's going ahead. Similarly, we're out on site at the moment on a street called Baldwin Street. Bristol's got a harbour and a river, and you either go around on the ring road, the inner ring road, or you get sucked through Baldwin Street as a shortcut across the city. It's a very hostile environment in peak hours. It's actually my commute to work, so I know it very well. This isn't peak hours, but this just shows you some of the conflicts you get. The main route is on the road, you can see, looking up the picture. That feeds into Castle Park in the Bristol-Bath Railway Path, which is one of the, I think it's the first Sustrans National Cycle Network. In the morning, cars come cutting down left to go into this road. They're going out, there's a rat run down this side road, and we've had a number of accidents there, and most days it feels like an accident waiting to happen. Similarly, just to show it's more than just about transport, the steps you can see in the building behind is St Nick's Market, which is a great little place where lots of independent traders are. Currently, the crossing isn't aligned into the steps, and there's a load of awful refuse bins at the bottom of the steps, making it look pretty shoddy and horrible. So what we're now building, and this is a picture I took earlier this week from where they're on site. This is the same road. There'll be this segregated facility down there, and they've kept the old iron curbs and they're putting the other side. And what you can't see on this bottom picture on the right is they're moving the crossing to line it up with St Nick's, and getting the bins moved as well, working with the traders there. So it provides a really good facility which links into an off-road facility to Bristol Bath, and we've just got one last link to do then, and you've got a route from my house 6 miles outside the city, off-road, right into the heart where all the jobs are, which is phenomenal. So just to move beyond cycling onto something which I think I wanted to highlight out of interest is some of the bigger challenges. So this scheme is called Temple Gateway. This picture here, in the bottom right, you can just see a building poking out. That's the end of the historic Brunel station, the first part of Bristol Temple Station, which was built there as part of the Great Western Main Line from London to Bristol. If you come into Bristol at the moment and you come out the station, which itself is needing lots of work, you're confronted by a mess of parking, And then if you stand there, you can see there's just this sprawling mess of highway between you and the city. And it feels very loud, very hostile, and very unwelcoming as a city as a whole. Depressingly, this scheme was 1996. So in 1996, it was considered acceptable to build basically a scheme focused on cars and not people. So what we're doing now is trying to address this. This is actually about 4,000 pedestrians go currently to and from the station. But this area around the station is our enterprise zone. There's going to be 17,500 new jobs, and we're actually taking through to planning now, building a new arena as well there. So the level of activity to and from there is going to increase massively. But the other issue we've got is it's actually our busiest node on the entire highway network. It's in the city, so we've got about 50,000 vehicles currently go through there, and it's just a big, big conflict. This is how it looks now. It's not the proudest moment Bristol's got, but it's pretty shoddy, pretty tatty, and pretty messy. And this is the sort of thing we want to get to. So we want to get a scheme that delivers for people to get across. I think the mayor's used the phrase several times, I've heard him, it's all about the people stupid. But it's not just about transport, it's about creating a sense of place, a welcoming point for the city, but it's also about real estate. If we can shrink the road, there's real estate there. And actually, we own a lot of that as a city, so we can actually get a return on that as well as helping the economy grow. So this is very much work in progress, and these are sort of roughly side by side the same shape. So on the left is what we're looking to achieve, which is basically one single road to cross. The orange blocks are what's released as real estate from it. And what we're doing now is in the process of refining the scheme. So at the moment, this is where it's got to, and this has been improved as we speak. So we're challenging the design team to get rid of the green strip down the middle, you can see back there, and make it a one-stage crossing to get across for pedestrians. And also you can see a white strip sort of making a triangle of land. That road's going, and the road will just bend around the outside. So we're trying to get to a very, very simplified highway arrangement which gets people across to the station and supports a fantastic enhancement to the city. So this is a visualisation of what the new public square will look like, which you drift across into from the station. I guess the point I wanted to conclude on is that the learning I've been through, and my colleagues have been through, is that it's not about transport schemes anymore, it's about schemes about place. So I work in a place directorate, we're called now, and we're led with a strap line of better lives and better places. And it's about thinking about combining highway skills, people with architectural skills, people with commercial nous for property, with people who've got ideas about the public transport, and saying, how do we gel all those together in one project and then deliver something which makes a big difference? So that's what I'd like to conclude on. Thank you.
Wow, it's exciting. I'm really enjoying tonight. I hope you are. That was wonderful to hear what Bristol's doing. Two things struck me. One was that you mentioned about air quality and the impact of public transport, particularly on that. Engage has just won, or been shortlisted down from 5,000 entries in the European Cultural Forum's Idea Camp in Marseille. We've got down to the last 50 with a project for Liverpool City Centre on air quality, because we realise it's really, really bad, and that public transport contributes, and some of our taxis as well contribute massively to that poor quality of air. And it's lovely to see the plans that you're bringing forward. It's really exciting to see it. And I love the thing about the planning and transport working together, all around place. 3 years ago now, Engage's very first seminar series was called Cities for People, because we were aware that people are not number one in our cities, and there's still a lot of work to be done to convince everybody that people come first. And that's what Copenhagen has learned a lot, and so has Vancouver, which is where we brought our main speaker from that year.